ourselves together with many other organizations, both government, media, academia, tech experts and others, were organized by some organization called Future Agenda. I don't know whether you've heard of them, to look at issues to do with data and how we can deliver value through data. And these are just some of the companies that were involved, that went across, and what Future Data did is they engaged about 30 countries. It was a global initiative to address issues of data, about 30 countries, and talked to a variety of stakeholders coming from different disciplines. And this you won't see very clearly, so I'll just skip this slide, but it's basically showing the presence of where the conversation happened. Where you see the colors is where some of the markets where they were able to go. In Africa, they did this within about 8 markets, or 8 countries. And this is what is important for us to note. So these are the issues that they found, the varied perspectives from the 25 countries they covered, that are stirring up debates around data, or are topical issues or issues of interest around data. But the ones you see marked in blue color are the ones that were the most top of the list for Africa. So it's just good to note that in Africa, the question of data and digital literacy was on the list of things that we care for most. Who the owners of data are versus the custodians of data. Questions around data sovereignty, who has control over the data, and why them and not the other, particularly around government itself wanting to have control. The question of data localization, where does the data sit? Is it in servers here or is it in servers abroad? The question of truth and transparency, what are you doing with my data? Do I know what you're doing with my data? Do I have a say and choice over how you use my data and how you process it? A question about the ethics, how basically how you're using my data with the question of ethics. And lastly, governance and regulation, which is similar to what I mentioned earlier. So I will go through this slide. I don't need to go through because it's a repeat of what I've just come from explaining. But basically, these are the key issues that Africa felt were vital. And for us, as Facebook, we have been grappling with these questions because the questions keep arising, particularly with regards to how we conduct ourselves. And we've been trying to address these things by making sure that we have a very close collaboration with different partners. We work very closely with government. We're doing this in very many markets, similarly, even here in East Africa. And we're also working with the industry and media and others. But what we feel from our observations so far is that the question of data from the issues that we've noted up there will need more collaboration and partnership, and which is why we needed to have this conversation in this room as well. We need to be able to have a long-term solution-oriented approach to how we use data, the frameworks we put up around data, and what we decide is the African perspective on how we want our data handled. And this must be innovation-led, meaning that we should be looking to solve solutions or problems for the communities here, and having an idea of how we want to do that using data, but at the same time, is it something that is sitting well with the different stakeholders around the data ecosystem? And then, again, emphasizing the point on collaboration to delivering shared value, meaning that we should get the most out of data. Shared value, meaning everybody who's trying to do something positive and innovation-led that is solving solutions for the community would be driving value from it to create the most social impact. So I will stop there. I'm sorry.
So please, if we have questions for Messi, she's going to listen to anyone right now, please. You can come to the mic and Messi's going to answer your questions.
Okay. Any questions? I'm happy to answer questions and happy to also have discussions on the side.
Morning. I'm called Kwaje Solomon from Uganda, a student from Bugema University. I heard you before when you were introducing yourself. You made a point and said there are ways by which Facebook give back to the community. So mine is just an inquiry to know how Facebook is doing that. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. So Facebook does a lot in the community. I'll give you examples of some of the things we are doing in this region. We work very closely with different partners within the civil society to deliver, for example, youth programs on digital literacy. How can people use the platform better and safer for themselves in how they conduct themselves online, because that is a huge gap and we see it as a concern. We have many projects with governments, different governments. I could name almost all the 48 in the sub-Saharan Africa region. But the focus there is around how can we address the question of hate speech and misinformation, where you have people posting things that maybe are untrue or are misleading in communities. How can we get people also through civic awareness programs that we're also doing to get to flag these issues more? Because one of the things we've noted as Facebook is that we have very low reporting levels within sub-Saharan Africa as a whole, and it's no different in East Africa, where you see, people will see, for example, an image that is very disturbing, graphic images or whatever it is that they see, but they will not report, or where you click report this post. And we've realized the gap exists in that people may not even know that they can do that. And so we have programs around civic engagement and enlightening communities around that. We have a lot of programs on women and supporting women, but because there's a low adoption of internet as well as use of smartphones and basically social media for women. And so we try to teach women also how to go around improving themselves and their businesses, and they're talking about things that affect them. So for example, it could be issues, whatever they're interested in, it could be issues around how can you better yourself as a mother, how can you work, maybe know about where to go for clinics when you're pregnant and things like that. How can you, if you're a woman in business, work to improve your business? And we bring communities together in that way. Over and above that, we have what we call community leadership circles in countries. Different countries have them, including here, that are involved in engaging with the communities even after we are when we're not present ourselves physically, as well as what we call the developer circles that work specifically to develop skills that are engineering related or IT related, so that they can be, this youth can be ready for the future. So we have varied programs, there are quite a number, but I could just mention those as a few of them.
I'm sorry for coming back again, sorry. I know you've answered most of my questions, but I have some point that I wanted to emphasize on, more special about the youths. If you realize that most of the people that are misusing the Facebook, like to post some nudity pictures or such kind of things that are not acceptable, are youths. So I would suggest that if it is very possible, you could at least embark so much on the youths. I know the other ones are also important, like educating the women and also other people, but it would be very much important because I realized that according to me, like most of the people who are Facebook users are always very active are the youths. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Yes, we realize that as well. And it is actually one of the reasons why I'm also up here. We are happy to partner with organizations that are focused on addressing issues to do with youth, whether it is in educating, passing, we've had, I think, a couple of mentions of capacity building programs around youth and how we can transfer skills to the youth. We are more than happy to partner with such organizations. If there are any in the room, please let us know. But if you're doing something in the region on areas to do with youth, women, digital literacy and things like that, we are more than happy to consider you for partnership.
My name is Mukom. I'm head of capacity building at AFRINIC Limited. Thank you for your presentation. I would like to get a bit more details on the quality of the capacity building efforts that you provide to youths, because we always hear the statistic that within by 2050, Africa is going to have the highest youth population. And we all know that whether that's a ticking time bomb or an economic opportunity depends upon the quality of skills that these people develop. And quite frankly, workshops about youth empowerment, all of that, isn't going to cut it. I'm interested in knowing specific numbers, if it's possible to share. High-level skills that you're developing and where we can find information about that.
Yes.
Because that's the kind of skills that is going to save this continent.
Okay.
Because if you talk about how to use platforms, you're just educating people how to use your platform. That seems like, I'm interested in that's community living. Thanks.
Thank you for that comment. Now, the scope and variety of skills that we transfer are varied. So the ones I mentioned earlier, like the ones you're saying are basic, are also very critical, because a lot of people we have discovered are at that basic level of understanding. of how can I use my, how can I even access social media and use it. Many people don't have any clue on how, because a lot of people are starting to only adopt internet in majority of the places. Remember, we still have very low internet penetration rates in most of the countries within sub-Saharan Africa, which means as more people come to accessing internet, they're coming to that basic understanding fast. So it is like a very huge need impacting more people. So there's a lot of focus there. However, we also have those levels of engagements that you're talking about. We partner with very many universities that offer now, where we sponsor students to go into a university abroad and study specifically engineering courses or coding, get coding skills and things like that, or even partner with those universities to send lecturers and do that here with academic institutions. So that's also something we do. We haven't done any of that within this East African region, but we have done that in Nigeria, and we've done that in South Africa, Southern Africa rather, and we'll be more than happy to discuss and give you more information around that program as well, and how maybe with the organization or those that are involved in such work can work with us on it. But it is something we do, and we have a huge investment as a company in high-level education, so graduates and even postgraduate and above.
My name is Abiade Dosimo. I work for AFRINIC. I don't know if you're the right person to ask this question, but this is my first time in Eastern Africa. And when I got here, I got to know that you have to pay tax to use WhatsApp and Facebook and all that. So this is the first time I'm hearing things like that. And just, I don't know if you're the right person to answer the question. Why is it like that?
Why is it like that there's taxes?
That you have to pay tax on using social media.
Unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to answer because I would imagine it would be more a question directed to government, if there's government actors in the room, more than, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Happy to have a conversation after this as well. Yeah.
Good morning. Thank you for the presentation. Patrick Kiza, a student at Mountains of the Moon University in Western Uganda. I'm basically asking his question, I would say in a better or refined way. As Facebook, the people being taxed are Facebook users, and I'm quite sure that as Facebook, you gain from people when they're using the platform. So what have you so far done to see that the issue of tax is harmonized, as in between Facebook and or in collaboration, or whether with the government, or did you take any measure or any step as far as the issue of tax is concerned? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. So yes, we did. When this came up, we did even join up with other stakeholders in the region, in this country rather, that were displeased with the introduction of that tax, because it was actually, it was going to impact particularly it would make the affordability of data harder for most people to be able to reach. And that was going to already, you know, when we are talking about digital inclusion, this was going to sort of start to impact that initiative. And we, as Facebook, have managed to, together with research companies, because one of the questions was, do you have any evidence that this would be so? Because I think the view is that, you know, data is something that people will use anyway, regardless. And the statistics actually so far don't show a drop per se in the use of the data. It happened in the initial days, but it is not what has been seen after. But from the research we've done, because we've done research, which you're asking about what we've done, we have engaged with government here. We still are continuing to do that. But over and above that, we have research, for example, by Research Africa that was published specifically on the issue of social media tax. There was another research done by some people called policy.org, policy with double L. You can look it up. All those are new researches that are out now on this work. And we're still continuing to engage government on it. And as we do, hopefully we'll be able to get to a point where we can have it removed totally. But it is something that needs government first to agree on.
Okay. Hi, I'm Kakel from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Thank you for your presentation. I would like to know mostly how do you assess the level of evolution or development of different programs between French-speaking countries and English-speaking countries, and what will be the areas of improvement? Thank you.
Sorry, you mean in terms of which specific?
Yeah, specifically concerning the data use and in the educational aspect.
Okay. So we have, if I could speak a little bit about how we are structured at Facebook, we have regional teams that focus on different regions, and we have a specific team that focuses on Francophone countries where DRC sits as within our structure. And so the same efforts and initiatives that we are having as a company are done across the entire structure. So it's not only for East Africa or Anglophone countries. This is being done both. As long as you're a Facebook employee in policy, the focus is to make sure that the same things reach everywhere. So I don't know the stage because I'm not covering Francophone, but I could find out specifically if you would give me your details and I can give you an update after. Yeah.
I'm Tumusime Arias from Uganda, from Refugees. I just have a question because when you look at the way we use Facebook and the way we use Facebook, you discover that it's majorly on international languages. So my concern is just about the other African languages. How could it be made possible so that any other person using an African language, let's say Yoruba, let's say Uganda, can use it in our own language, not on the languages of the whites? Thank you so much.
Thank you. That is actually something we're grappling with, and we have improved from being an English-only platform in terms of how what we have, we call it language coverage. A lot of the major languages within Africa are now covered in terms of when you post content or interacting on Facebook, it recognizes what you're talking about. But then you have to appreciate that there is a lot of diversity in language when it comes to Africa, especially Sub-Saharan Africa. From my country alone, for example, we have over 43 tribes. I'm from Kenya. Of those 43, within the tribes themselves, there's different dialects. And that means that there is a difference even in how certain words are said by one section of the tribe to another. And so the complexity of the language context is actually such that we cannot be able at this time to cover all of the languages. And so what we do is we identify which ones are the key languages within markets. So for example, if we're addressing, say, Kenya, we'll be looking at everybody speaks English, so English automatically is already covered anyway. The platform is mostly in English. But then Swahili is a key language that's covered within East Africa, that's used here in Uganda, it's used in Kenya, it's used in Tanzania, it's used in DRC. So you'll find a language like Swahili will be covered in terms of resources within the company. But we cannot be able to get to the level where we have each and every language covered. There's over 2,000 languages within Sub-Saharan Africa alone. So that would lend it impossible to have that coverage because also the numbers would determine that. So we can't covering the big languages, and we're still improving on that and trying to have that supported.
Height issues. Hi, my name is Susan Atim. I'm from Women of Uganda Network. Facebook was ranked 4th out of 12 by Digital Rights Rankings. That's, I think, information in their 2018 report. 4 out of 12 among internet and mobile ecosystem companies. One of the key findings was that Facebook lacked clarity about handling of user information and clarity about what it does to keep user data safe. My question is my data safe, especially knowing that when I go on Facebook, I get all these ads thrown at me depending on what I search on Google. Is my data safe?
Yes, your data is safe. I will start there. And also say that the terms of use of Facebook clarify in a lot of detail. And I hope that each and every one of you is able to go through those. What exactly we would do with your data and how, and who would share it with if there's any sharing that would happen. But we find that a lot of times people do not go into the detail of checking that. And I remember around the time that there was issues around data insecurity and concerns around that, there was even alerts put on the platform such that when you log in, there'd be this blue bar telling you, please check your privacy settings, check your this and that and the other. Because Facebook has put in its, within its infrastructure and systems, the safety net to make sure that your data is safe. But as you appreciate with all challenges related to internet, is that you cannot control 100% some of the areas to do with, for example, what one can do with data they're looking at on a screen. So let me give you an example. If you already have your screen open and someone takes a screenshot, it is possible for someone to compromise you by having information such as that. Yourself, in terms of the privacy settings you've put up on your profile, how much safeguards are you putting as to who can see, for example, your posts, your pictures, your updates? Is it only your friends? Is it the public? Because the minute you don't have those settings prescribed correctly, it means that then anyone who is public can be able to see them and then be able to download or see or pull out your picture or take a photo of it and compromise you in that way. So as far as the company and the platform is concerned, those safety nets have been put in place and your data is safe. But I think the challenge is generally an internet problem of how can we improve on those, areas of where you would not have control because an external party is, or you have given an external party access incidentally. And I'll also think this is also something that we find, you've talked about Google and Facebook. We are not, so it's not the same company, so I would not be able to comment on that. But as far as Facebook is concerned, all the users that are on Facebook usually don't get charged anything. No one, I believe, in this room is paying anything to Facebook for using the platform. But then the business model for Facebook is that it charges advertisers. So the advertisement that is placed, that you see when you access Facebook, is what helps the company run and take care of the cost and provide the platform for people to use. And similarly then for people who are doing business, for example, to be able to access customers or to put out their products to be seen by those who are on the platform. So that is the business model. So the ads are there for that reason, but then the platform is free. But as to how much self-control you have and you're putting on your platform, on your profile, is key. And also understanding the terms of use so that you can be able to restrict even what we as Facebook can do with your data or not. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Okay, thank you. In response to that gentleman's query about the over-the-air attacks, one of the reasons they introduced the OTT in Uganda particularly was because of the abuse of use, and that was on Facebook. For example, I'll give an example that there was this lady who used Facebook to actually abuse the president, throw insults at the president. So they introduced the OTT as a way of regulating users. So the question to her would be, what is Facebook doing to ensure that people are using Facebook for the right reasons? So I think that's the question that you should be answering.
I think related to what she was talking about, so digital rights are issues like freedom of expression, the rights to privacy and things like that. And the platform allows for people to have a place where their voice can be heard. So previously, for example, unless you are a public figure or a popular or whatever, you would probably not have many spaces where you could speak up and be heard about your views. Now, platforms such as Facebook provide you with that platform where you can speak and give your views, and it is your views about anything. So the freedom of expression is there and it's upheld, and Facebook subscribes to the United Nations Declaration on Human Rights, which embraces freedom of expression, for example, and rights to privacy. However, our platform does not condone, and this is what I needed, just to be clear, those kinds of things, using the platform to abuse people or to try and bring down someone or dehumanize them or, liken them to animals or insult them and so on and so forth. But how does Facebook get to know about this post that has been put up, for example? It is because of people who report it. So for example, if you're friends with this person say it's the woman, for example, who is insulting the president or other person, if you click on report this post, then Facebook becomes aware of it and then is able to bring it down and remove it. So I think what I'm trying to emphasize here is that we need to be able as much as possible to improve on how we report on things that we're seeing online, especially something that is disturbing or is bothering us, because the platform provides an opportunity for people to use it, but then some people are bad actors in the sense that they will come onto the platform with bad intentions and use it for that reason. Facebook will proactively, within the shortest time possible, as soon as a post is reported, will take it down. But then we need to be able to know about it in the first place. So this will address issues to do with hate speech. So for example, around election time, or when you have something happening within the country, you have a lot of people who maybe are supporting one side and some supporting another side, having that kind of push and pull online. Report those posts. If you see something that is speaking about these things in a way that you think is likely to go offline and become harmful to people, report it. Issues to do with misinformation. So for example, someone saying that this hotel is on fire, and you know full well the hotel is not on fire. Report it, because it is misinformation, it is misleading, it is inciting people against, or is making people think a certain thing that is not the case. So report it so that then Facebook can be able to review, the content team can review and take it down. But also importantly, which is why I was emphasizing on the need for digital literacy, we've realized that many people go online and assume that their actions online are private and cannot be known or whatever, but you leave a digital footprint everywhere you go. And so because of that, digital literacy programs we do are meant to enlighten people and teach them not only reporting, but also that you need to conduct yourself or behave yourself a certain way when you're online. The same way you wouldn't, for example, walk around nude. We do not condone nudity on the platform, so you should not also post nude pictures of yourself or of others. So those kinds of things, for example, are the reason why we conduct literacy programs around how to use digital assets. So to your question, yes, it is a concern for us too, but we would lean a lot on having a lot of reports coming in to enlighten us about them. But over and above that, Facebook has also invested on artificial intelligence and machine learning tactics to be able to tell. So certain things can be identified by the machine itself without involving posts coming through manually, which are then taken down. In fact, majority of the content that we remove online is done so through machine learning and AI tactics. So already that is proactively being done. But we do rely on where we have local context on nuance, where you have to actually have someone give an understanding that this in Uganda is unacceptable, or this in Cote d'Ivoire or in this place is unacceptable, even though that thing might be acceptable somewhere else, would require someone from the local context to report and say.
Bonjour.
Good morning. I'm requesting you to put your earphone because I'm going to speak in French. Good morning. Thank you for your presentation and the opportunity you are giving us. Good morning. Thank you for your presentation. I am Ahmed Bashar. I'm coming from Niger, from the government of Niger. Facebook today is a means of communication, the most used by different governments. The problem rising, we have most false profile which are now circulating wrong information. This profile, they are not local, they can be outside, and now I would like to know how do you have a collaboration between Facebook and the different governments, how now to solve this problem, because today we have a conflict in some area, terrorist conflict. The same terrorists are using also Facebook for their own propaganda, and this false profile are also circulating wrong information to create terror. I would like to know how Facebook is collaborating with different stakeholders to solve this problem?
Thank you, and to touch on some very sensitive issues. So Facebook, when it comes to fake profiles, what you're calling, so we call them fake accounts. Fake accounts are not allowed on Facebook, actually. And this is something many people don't know. Fake accounts are not allowed. But I'll give you two scenarios. There is fake accounts that are obviously fake accounts, and those ones usually you'll find will get blocked. So for example, someone creates an account like with XXXYYY, there's certain characters. Those will be easy to identify and take down. Especially if they don't have an authentic identity behind them, because we are able to verify if there's an authentic identity or person behind the account. However, where you have a situation where me as Masindegwa, I have an account in my name and I'm an authentic person, but then somebody else creates an account in the name of Masindegwa and they are trying to impersonate me, Facebook will not be able to know which of the two Masindegwas is the genuine Masindegwa, because the names appear the same, everything appears normal, especially if they have attached an ID, an authentic identity behind the impersonation account. You see what I mean? But when this is reported, so for example, if we have this a lot happening for celebrities, people in the public eye, influencers, bloggers, and others, where they have duplicate accounts created that are trying to impersonate them. Those, when reported, are always taken down. A lot of times, in fact, we get the reports from the people whose accounts have been impersonated. So for example, you're a top musician and you realize there's an account calling itself your same name and posting about your music, your pictures of where you have been and all the things you're doing as though it was you. Then if we are told that this is fake, we'll take it down. So it is important to note that that is one of the challenges, that we cannot be able to all the time tell when there is an authentic person trying to pretend to be someone else. And why that arises, again, is coming from the perception by some people, internet users, that no one will know. No one will know that I'm trying to pretend to be Koffi Olomide and I'm not Koffi Olomide, you know? So, you know, those kinds of instances. But then if the issue is reported, then it will be taken down. But for where the account has no authentic identity behind it, those automatically by the system will be taken down. In terms of what are we doing with the government, now this question of fake accounts is linked very closely with where the fake news seems to be stemming from. So there are people who are authentic persons on the platform. So for example, I'm Masindegwa, but I generally post lies every day. Which means my account in itself is not a problem, it is my content, what I'm posting, that is a problem. So we'll not close your account, but we'll remove the content you're lying about. But if I am pretending to be someone else and I'm creating a fake account and posting fake news every day, that one would also be taken down on the basis that it is providing fake information. What we do is we put a threshold. If users report, for example, that Mercy is telling lies, and today morning I told a lie, that was taken down. Again, later on today I posted something else that is a lie, and so on. We put that account on, on observation or monitoring, so that at some point we start to monitor what this person is saying online, because we notice that they have a trend of lying or putting up posts that are being found to be offensive. And so what we will do is proactively start to monitor this account ourselves for repeated behavior. And when that happens, we will take down that account and close the profile. So the person then no longer has access. And we'll put them on suspense mode for a period of time, especially if they're an authentic ID, meaning if it's a real person behind an account, we put them on suspension. They cannot open an account on Facebook. They can't even create another account in a different name for a period of time until they correct their behavior. And we inform them why we have closed their account. But where an account is fake, a lot of times when we find it out, where the account has no authentic person behind it, you'll find a lot of times they will never reopen the account if we close it, because they just try to open another fake account, it's reported, even that is brought down, and so on, so they give up. So we have programs with government where, for example, the National Cybersecurity Center that you can have in a government, or a specific reporting agency of government on matters to do with cybersecurity concerns, will be one that will whitelist or put on a list that allows them to directly report on any, for example, bulk issues that they're seeing of cybersecurity concerns in their country, and that will involve any fake accounts that they see that are telling lies. We do that already. And then also we do programs with, like I'm saying, civic awareness programs and others to teach people about how to conduct themselves online. We also do a lot of work with the civil society and partners to see what can we do to address the question of fake news and misinformation. So that is something we tackle on a regular basis. Every day it's part of what we do. And hence the reason why, for example, we get ranked when it comes to issues to do with digital human rights, because it's digital human rights affecting.
Sorry, you're the last person, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, morning. I'm Isaac from Uganda. I'm asking a practical question. Why is that once I blocked an account and like for a year, but after opening it, again, I found the same information when it was there. Why is that when I block an account, why do you still keep my information in your databases? Because I tried it, and when I opened it after 1 year, everything was still there. Yes, that is it.
So that's a blocked account. A deleted account is the one who will take information down. So for example, if you said, I no longer want to be on Facebook, I want no presence, it means you have to go into deleting. When you delete, we delete you everywhere. We have no information on you. In fact, we ask you, are you sure you want to permanently delete your account? Because once you say yes, everything you posted on Facebook ever, your posts, your pictures, everything on your timeline, everything you've been tagged in on your profile will be deleted. And we don't keep any copies anywhere on our servers. So when you delete an account and you want to come back onto Facebook, you will start as a fresh new user. But if you've been blocked, it means it's just like you're on a suspense mode of sorts. You just can't, you're not transacting or posting actively. You're doing nothing on the platform, but you're there. You're there, but as an inactive account in a sense. So yes, that information will be there. But if you choose to delete, then you will totally be removed from the platform.
Thank you, thank you. My name is Philip Musico. I'm coming from Congo, DRC. I'm managing a certain business and technology company in Congo called Citadel Corporation. My question is about Facebook boosting. The issue I have with that matter is the time you are new to boost post on Facebook, Facebook sends you some messages to show you that you've got bonuses and you can keep on boosting. But after some days, after some other boosting post, it sends you the message that you have a debt to pay on Facebook and then block your posting account. I don't know how can we manage, how can we managing such situation on Facebook? Because like for my case, nowadays I no longer post my post on Facebook because it's sending me the message that Facebook is demanding me $25.
Okay, I need to get your details so that I can be able to sort out your issue, because it sounds very specific to your account, to understand why that is happening. So if you could have a conversation offline about that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your interest and for the questions, and I hope you've been enlightened a little bit more. But let's decide what the African narrative is as far as data is concerned and how we want to draw the most value out of data. Thank you so much for your time.